All right, well, we will just dive right into it. Morgan, you are up.
Oh my gosh. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Well, as we talk about how kind of stuff moves along on the insurance side, typically what happens is once the sale is entered, we get a download into our information system, Epic, and this triggers an email drip campaign that's automatically sent to the buyer. And what it is it's basically introducing us as the agent, letting them know, hey, we work with your agent so-and-so. Congratulations on your new home purchase. Would you be interested in a new insurance quote? And then, kind of depending on how they respond, if they say yes to they are open to a quote, then we connect with them with a list of questions that we need or the information that we need to start working on those quotes. We can do everything through email. Sometimes they like to just kind of chit chat over the phone, especially if they have kind of a more specific insurance need. If they don't want to quote, that's totally fine. We say, hey, thanks for, getting back to me, and reach out if anything changes. Some people do end up coming back for that second opinion if they get a quote from their current agent that may not look as nice as they thought it would be. But on to, if you switch to the next slide. There you go. Oh, there we go. So step 4, once we receive all the information back from the buyer, we start working on quotes with all of our available companies. The goal is to find the best coverage at the lowest price possible. And sometimes, best coverage may not always be the cheapest option. So it's really about us trying to find the most appropriate package for the client, depending on their specific risks. After reviewing all the quotes and finding the best option for the buyer, we schedule a time to connect with them over the phone and go through the quotes together. We can make any adjustments, answer any questions they may have. We can do this over email if the buyer prefers, but we really, really strive to try and get them in person on the phone, just so they really understand what coverages we're proposing, what their deductibles are, their premiums, and just making sure that if they have any other questions or if there's other coverages we want to recommend, to be able to explain those coverages, what they do, how they work, how everything plays out, and explain a little bit to the buyer how Edina Realty works. Since we are a broker, we kind of play that middleman between the buyer and the insurance company. We represent them to the insurance company. So sometimes people think, well, if we put them with Travelers Insurance, they have to work with Travelers directly. And it's actually, they would come to us for everything, and we would process any sort of policy changes, answer any sort of questions, and stuff like that. We also talk over with them to see if there's any other needs or questions, concerns, and ask if the quote fits their expectations. Sometimes we want to ask, like, hey, do you want to try and get your autos bundled together so we can try and take advantage of more discounts? Do you have any recreational vehicles, boats, high value items that we need to include or that they typically insure? After we propose everything to the buyer, we kind of a two-step thing. If they accept the quotes we proposed, we have them complete the applications, and we do all of that electronically using DocuSign. If they decline the quote, we just simply thank them for the opportunity and let them know that they can reach out in the future if anything changes. Yes, and then once the quote is accepted, we actually correspond directly with the lender and send them the proof of insurance and an invoice that they'll need for closing. On the day of closing, we will reach out to the lender just to confirm that closing is still scheduled and there's no delays or issues. Once we get confirmation of closing, we issue the policies and process any payments that are needed. That's specifically, like if they did the auto bundle and we have to process the first month payment or something like that. And then we will email the buyer all their temporary proof of insurance until they receive the complete policies by mail or email, depending on if they want to sign up for paperless or not. But that's kind of the step-by-step kind of process that we follow on the insurance side when we get a new sale or a new lead into the system. So very, very seamless. We try and make sure that this process is super easy. And like I said, we correspond directly with the lender so they don't have to worry about trying to track down the additional documents that they'll need for closing.
Can I just jump in and say, like, steps 9 and 10, you guys are the only insurance company that actually confirms that we're closing on the day of closing.
And to kind of explain a little bit why we do that is because closing dates change all the time, or something comes up, they have to push it back, or something comes up and they have to move it forward. And Katie obviously is totally awesome at communicating that with us because she'll need an updated binder if that closing date changes. But a lot of other lenders don't communicate that with us very often. So we've run into times where if we issue the policy right away and then the closing date changes, we have to do like a whole cancel rewrite on that policy to change the effective date. And some companies, it's not like a really quick turnaround time for that. So, if it's delayed one day and they need an updated binder right now, it makes things a lot more difficult after that policy is issued. So we really don't finalize the policy until we know that that closing is still scheduled for that day, just so we don't have to deal with any of those headaches and delay closing even more.
Yeah, that's huge. We appreciate that for sure.
Well, we appreciate you as well.
All right.
Oh, and then, yes, some things I just kind of wanted to mention, kind of what sets us apart from other insurance companies is, one, we are a broker. So that means we have access to multiple different insurance companies, and this allows us to do some of the shopping for your buyer. We offer second opinions or even comparisons, especially with new, like first-time home buyers. A lot of them don't necessarily completely understand what the coverages mean, what they cover, and how the insurance policy is kind of structured. So I'll always, if people are getting quotes from multiple different companies, we're like, hey, if you need help, let's sit down and compare these coverage by coverage, deductible to deductible, premium to premium, so they can make the most educated or the most responsible choice when it comes to their insurance policy. And when, obviously, when the sale is within Edina, we can work directly with their agent, with their lender, if we have any questions or if we need any additional information about the property, which makes it a lot easier on your buyer, right? Because then they don't have to constantly try and track down information while they're trying to pack up their new house. We can easily call the agent and say, hey, do you have any idea what the age of the roof is? The buyer doesn't know, and that's totally fine. Is there anything in the seller disclosure that states the age of the roof? We can always shop or remarket anytime after closing. So if their renewal rate comes back super high, we have an option to be able to remarket them with our other companies to see if we can find them a better option. Again, you're not going to find that with State Farm or Allstate, and whatever the other ones that are captive agencies. They only have the one product. So our agency, we have multiple products. So if this insurance policy no longer fits their needs, we can definitely look to see if we can find something else. Like I mentioned before, we represent the buyer to the insurance company, which gives them more support when it comes to claims adjusters or payouts. If they have a claim and the adjuster comes out and they don't necessarily agree with the amount the adjuster is providing them, then we can step in and say, hey, we want a second opinion. We want someone else to come out just so we can make sure that they're giving them the proper amount for this damage. And lastly, we just strive to make the insurance and home buying process easy and seamless for all clients. It's, they have so much going on already, and I know insurance isn't the most fun topic that they want to think about or deal with. So our job is really just to make it as seamless as possible. And also, we're local. We have local agents. We have a local customer service team, local renewal specialists. So whenever clients call, they don't have to worry about talking to someone that's all the way across the country that doesn't know anything about Minnesota or Wisconsin. So just kind of some things that set us apart from our competitors.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yes.
Any questions on the insurance side? No? Okay, sounds good. All right, now we're gonna go to title. So Mickey, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, since I know a lot of our Wisconsin offices don't have title over this way. So thank you so much for coming and sharing still. And so yeah, go ahead and take it. And you're muted. Let's try that.
There we go.
Yay.
All right. It's our first day on Teams, Evan and I. Just bear with us. All right, so I'm going to go through, I'm sorry, I should introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mickey Easton, regional title manager for the northeast side of our states. And I'm going to try and pull back the curtain a little bit on the closing process, just to let you know what happens from start to finish. So we're going to start on the seller side of a closing file. So the first thing, of course, that happens is that the seller accepts a buyer's offer. And a purchase agreement is fully executed and accepted. Then the listing agent goes in, completes that closing worksheet. Numbers 2 and 3 happen simultaneously. As soon as that closing worksheet has been uploaded into our system, the seller receives an invite to our exchange, which is our secure site to relay information back and forth between the closer and the client. And then our closer is working with the buyer's title company to obtain the title commitment and documents needed for that seller pre-sign. Then after that, the closer should receive the title commitment for insurance from that buyer's title company. Sometimes there are 2 companies, sometimes there are 1. More often than not, we are working with 2 companies. So the buyer's title company prepares that title insurance and sends that commitment over to our closer to review. Once the closer prepares or has that title insurance commitment, the closer will prepare all the seller documents and send preliminary settlement statements to the listing agent and buyer's closing agent for review. This is where the really important step of we like the listing agent to review all of the items on the ALTA, such as the commissions, making sure we haven't missed anything on that purchase contract that should be on there. And then shortly after that, the pre-sign is conducted. We pre-sign all sellers now, and then the sellers will receive all of their copies at that time of the pre-sign before we send those off to the buyer's title company.
Mickey, so talk to us, since the Wisconsin offices don't have title, but tell us about how I know you're doing a lot of seller side electronically where you guys could be utilized, because that's pretty slick that the order just like goes in directly once the transfer express is done.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So there are two, so the pre-signed really, the process is exactly the same all the way up to number 6. So 6 can be performed either in person or by remote notary. And the remote notary is basically a platform much like this, where we are conducting that pre-sign via online technology. So it is a separate and secure platform because of the notarization, but it works very similar to this, where I'm talking to the clients online rather than them having to be in person.
Cool.
So people can be anywhere, and that technology is utilized more and more now than ever. Because people are kind of all over traveling, they can close wherever they like. And there's no more mailing documents off to try and, the clients having to try and find a notary that don't know our closing documents, don't really know what they're notarizing, and the clients and the notary are sort of fumbling through it. With the remote online, it's nice because you have a in-house closer who knows the documentation, knows our platform, and can answer any questions that come up, just like if you were in person.
Yeah.
That answer your question?
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. All right. And then, of course, after that pre-sign is done, either online or in person, all of those originals and or certified coming through that online platform are sent over to the buyer's title company. That settlement statement then is sent once it's all been done. The settlement statement is sent to the agent and the sellers, and the proceeds are distributed as instructed at that pre-sign after that closing has been completed by the buyers. And then, of course, the buyer's title company sends everything to the county for recording. Then the next slide is really just a punch list of things we need to know on the seller side, which I find to be helpful when going into the transaction. I know a lot of transactions are very quick and want to close in a short time frame. If these items are kind of in hand or at least prepared for, that can make the transaction go a little bit faster and much smoother. So obviously, relationship issues, whether it be divorce, death, or a new marriage since that closing, any boundary line issues if the property is held in a different entity, whether it be a corporation, LLC, or a trust, having all the liens available, at least letting sellers know to have them in hand and ready when we inevitably are going to ask for them. Of course, having a list of any work that's been completed so we can obtain lien waivers where needed. And then, of course, I did have on here that we have the 2 options with remote or in person, and then kind of thinking, how do they want their proceeds, and being prepared for that question. So then on the next side, which is the buyer's closing process, which will mimic much of the sellers in some ways, but slightly different in others. In that, of course, we're working with the lenders and dispersing funds. So on this one, the first steps are the same, where you fully execute that purchase agreement with both parties. Closing worksheet. Once that closing worksheet is executed and an Edina Realty title closer is selected, that automatically comes to that closer once it's been uploaded or completed by the agent. And then again, same thing, the 2 things happen simultaneously, where the invitation to the exchange happens, as well as the closer will start working to schedule that time. Then next, this time we're in control of the title. So we are doing all of the research and exam on the file. So we would produce that commitment. And in turn, if we're closing both sides, of course, once that commitment is issued, then we'll go ahead and start clearing that. Otherwise, we send that off to the other party that we're closing with. So they can take a look at it and they're able to provide all of their backup documentation that's needed to complete. That at that time, then we start working with the lender. So we'd work with you, Katie, or Lori in balancing, getting that initial closing disclosure. And this we usually say happens about a week before the scheduled closing time. It really depends on where your client is in the transaction or what they're providing. And then, of course, once we balance with the lender, the buyer also receives documentation from us as well as phone calls to make sure that they know. And I know Katie and Lori are very good about letting their clients know that the preferred funds method for closing is a cashier's check payable to Edina Realty Title. We are able to get wires in from buyers. We just have to be very careful and very strategic on how we're getting the wiring instructions out to them. So the preferred method is just that they go into the bank and obtain that cashier's check payable to Edina Realty Title and bring that to closing. And then after that, of course, the closing is conducted. We give the buyers all of their closing documents. If funding authorization or any closing conditions exist, we send those off to the lender. And of course, with PHM, it is always seamless because we have that ability to go ahead once we have it to go ahead and fund the loan without delay to your clients. And then, of course, things we need to know right away when representing your buyer. We don't want any surprises on this end either. Want to make sure that we know marital status. It's very important. And any judgments, liens, bankruptcies, the work that's scheduled to be performed on the property. We're really kind of talking about work that's taking place just prior to the closing. Anything that's happening after we have funded the loan, that's okay, unless of course it's an insurance. We want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and we have our requirements met for that. And then of course the buyers, we always go through this at closing as well, but just keeping in mind how they want to take title, either as joint tenants or tenants in common. Of course, in Wisconsin, we have a few other joint tenants or tenants in common would be for single people. And then, of course, if they're married, it's the right of survivorship or without rights of survivorship. So, any questions for me? Perfect.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we'll move over to mortgage. Lori is actually gonna take the first two steps. So this is our mortgage roadmap.
Katie, could I ask,
Stop. It's okay.
Katie, Mary Jo here, could I ask Mickey a question before she heads out?
Yep.
So, hi back, Mickey.
Hi.
We, do you do a lot of transfer upon death deeds right at the time of when you're closing with someone and recording that immediately?
I have not seen that as a common practice right now.
Okay,
That's
Okay.
usually done after the fact.
okay. Just a basic question. We had a financial advisor come in and speak, I think 6 months ago, and just really talked about the importance of that. So I was just curious why title. I know there's a lot of decisions that go into that factor
Mhm.
if you have multiple children and how
Yep.
that would all play out. But I just on my personal properties, I had asked for that to be done at the time of purchase. And I just wondered why more title companies weren't doing it. But I know there's a lot of decisions at that point in time.
Certainly. And that's actually a really good question. And I can ask if that's something that we can offer or do at the time of closing. I'm not sure. I don't want to say that we would be able to do it because I don't see it all that often. And I know in Wisconsin, it's very with an attorney needing to draft those documents, that might be the case, but I can certainly ask that question and find out for you.
I would say, yeah, if you could, and more just to make buyers aware of what
Sure.
it is so that they can then, start that process. So maybe it's not done at that time, but just to give them that information of it's something they should consider.
Sure.
But
Or
then
as
we
an
are
option.
advising. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and we have to, I assume, be very careful and tiptoeing and giving any
Legal advice,
legal
right?
advice. Yes.
Yeah.
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 But
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Good morning. I'm Lori Purpich. I'm the loan officer in the North Suburban office. And like Katie said, we're going to kind of tackle this one together. So I'm going to start with the first two steps. First, of course, when we get a lead, what we're going to do is reach out to that contact by their preferred method. If it's a phone call or an email, we'll talk to them about what their plans are, what they're looking to do. One of the things I know Katie and I both work together, the same is we make sure that when we're doing the pre-approval, that we actually get along with their application, all of their supporting documents up front. One of the things to keep in mind is to issue a pre-approval letter. A lender is not required to get documents up front, but that is one of the steps that Katie and I both do up front to ensure that there aren't any problems or any surprises that come up down the road. So that's an important step there. So we have them complete the application for the pre-approval, again, provide all their supporting documentation. Once we have that together, what I do is set up an appointment with the clients, either a Teams call or in person. And we make sure that we actually go over all the numbers and all of the programs so that the client has a really good understanding up front. What does a monthly payment look like? What does the cash to close look like? What are different things that maybe aren't included in the loan worksheet that they should be prepared to be paying, like an inspection? The things that they're going to have to pay up front at the time that their offer is accepted. Sometimes there's questions and confusion on earnest money, so we want to make sure they have an understanding that they have to have some cash up front available. And then the balance of the cash will actually be collected at closing. Excuse me. Then the next thing is when they're ready to make an offer, we of course will do the pre-approval letter. We'll send that along, property specific letter that goes with the purchase agreement. And then we'll also reach out to that listing agent to just provide the assurance that these are great buyers that are well qualified, no concerns. Again, reiterating that we've collected all their documents, kind of go over a little bit of a resume, letting them know how long we've been in the business and to make so they have, again, assurance that there won't be any issues with their financing. Once the offer is accepted and the inspection contingency has been removed, that's where we kind of jump into then the next steps where we call it an official loan application. We prepare all the application disclosures and get those ready to send out to the client for e-signatures. This is the time that they typically will lock in the interest rate, or we talk about locking in an interest rate. What's the difference between locking and floating? If there's any updated documents that need to be requested, if things have expired since the time of pre-approval, we make sure we go over that with the clients. Once they have e-signed all their disclosures, at that point, we'll send a notice to the client to pay for their appraisal fee. That appraisal fee has to be collected up front before we can order the appraisal. So they'll e-sign the disclosures, immediately pay for their appraisal fee, and then we'll go ahead and get the appraisal ordered, the title work, have a conversation to make sure that they're reaching out to Morgan to get going on their homeowner's insurance and to get their quotes for insurance. And then at that point, what we do is submit all of the loan application and all of our documents to our underwriting and processing department. And then that's where the loan process starts. And Katie, you'll take over.
Thanks, Lori. Okay, yeah, so we get everything done up front. We get those disclosures that you sign. We make sure all the docs are updated and in the file. Really what we want to do is put like our best foot forward, right? Like you don't want to submit a sloppy file to underwriting because that's not going to help anybody. So make sure everything is really buttoned up, try to get ahead of anything. So like I know Lori and I, you're constantly thinking like an underwriter. So if something is just off, like let's say, for example, somebody's moving and now their commute is going to be, instead of 20 minutes, it's going to be an hour. Like an underwriter is going to they literally look at that stuff. And so you just have, the client write a letter of explanation saying, hey, I am aware that my commute is going to be longer, but here's the reason why this all makes sense. Because it's my dream job and I've been working towards this, for 10 years and whatever it may be. But that just helps. So when an underwriter opens up that file, they're like, oh, they've already thought about this. This is why this all makes sense. And what they do is they go into the file, they review all the documentation, and then they set a list of conditions, which is basically like our homework, and they give what is called conditional approval. So the loan is approved subject to these conditions that need to be met. Most of them are things that are behind the scenes stuff. So like the appraisal, the title work, the insurance, stuff like that. If there's anything else that needs to be done, like let's say there's a gift coming, part of the conditions will be the gift. So we have to document that there's a gift letter, that the funds have been transferred, all that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of what all that is. The processor on the file is going to make sure that everything is done behind the scenes. So if there's any employment verifications, maybe we need to get a written verification of employment so that we're breaking out overtime, maybe per diem, stuff like that, that needs to be averaged differently. So the loan processor is really the liaison between the client and the underwriter, as well as ourselves. The buyer's credit is monitored for any new debt, just to make sure that if any new trade lines are open, that we document, okay, what is this trade line? What's the minimum payment? Send us that first statement. And then we're just kind of in a waiting period as title is doing their thing, the appraiser is doing their thing, Morgan's doing her side of things with insurance. And then as we are getting those documents in, we're sending that back to the underwriter. So we're ping-ponging back and forth the file to get things checked off that list and making sure that those conditions are met. So it's a bunch of behind the scenes stuff. While you guys are working on inspections and negotiating for that, that's kind of what we're doing. I tell people like the first 3 days feel like you're just drinking from a fire hose, because I'm asking for stuff, the underwriter's setting the conditions, and we ask for more stuff. You guys are working through inspections, title's doing everything to introduce themselves. So it is a lot at the first couple days for sure. As we get everything done, so this is kind of wrapping it up. Once we send the file in for that last condition that needs to get met, which typically is, just verifying that they're employed again, making sure that they haven't quit their job. We send that in for final approval, and the underwriter gives that magical phrase, clear to close. Okay. At that same time, we send out that closing disclosure. We tell people that this typically is not balanced. It's just updated numbers for them. It's not really going to be balanced with title quite yet, but we legally have to send this document within 3 days of closing. And what we do at Edina Realty Mortgage is we actually try to send it 7 days before closing, because then it's automatically considered received. So we don't have to track down signatures or anything like that. Also at that same time, we are balancing with title. So once everything is balanced, we send out the numbers and give them instructions on where they need to go, how much their cashier's check needs to be, and anything noted beyond that. So then they show up to closing. We do have electronic docs sent to them as well, 9 times out of 10. There's a few instances where maybe they aren't able to do electronic packages, where maybe we don't have a spouse's email address for some reason, they're not on the loan. There's weird things like that where we can't let them do electronic signatures, but most of the time they are able to do that. So on the day of closing, because we need all the dates to match, so on the day of closing, those docs open up so that they can e-sign most of them, and then they need to go to closing to sign the docs that need to be notarized. So they'll show up to closing, sit down with you, sit down with title. We're hopefully there. And then they sign the docs that need to be signed and notarized, or if they can't do it, or if they can't figure out how to e-sign for some reason, that whole package is available to title so that the whole package can be printed out. So that's what they do there. And then after closing, the servicing is transferred. So unfortunately, I wish we accepted our own payments. That would be awesome. I know that they are working on that. There's talk of that, but it hasn't come yet. So the servicing is transferred, and we stay really involved in that process. There's a lot of communication that's sent out to make sure that that's a smooth process. I stay really involved in past clients. It's a customer for life, right? So I get emails all the time, or phone calls of like, hey, I need this done. And, maybe they're sending their payments to Regions or Mr. Cooper or whoever. Like, we have our post-closing team a lot of times reach out to that rep at that company and, help on that end of things, if something needs to be taken care of. So any questions on the loan side?
Can you just clarify for everyone, 3 days, does that include Saturday, Sunday?
It includes Saturday, but not Sunday. Yeah. And it usually we all kind of freak out where it's like, oh no, has the CD been sent? But, most lenders are set up to send it out, 5 days before closing, 6 days before closing. We send it out 7 because then we don't even have to track down signatures. And then if numbers change at all, because like I said, that's usually not the final balanced set of docs that they get. If numbers change, that's okay for that to happen. It's just the APR can't change by more than 1/8. So it has to change a lot, where you would need to reissue a new CD and wait the 3 days. So. Any questions? Okay, cool. Tammy, you are up. Introduce yourself first, though, please.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm Tammy Tucci with HSA Home Warranty. And I know now that you guys are all bored to death, right? As you go through this, great information, but everybody's head is spinning, I'm sure. So now to add to it, we're going to talk about home warranties, which is always very exciting. So I'm adding to the fun, but, going through the ordering process with a home warranty, it's a little bit different than obviously what you've been hearing up to this point. The ordering guide itself is pretty simple. I mean, when it can be ordered any time during the process. You can order it at the time of listing, you can order it before, or you can order it after close, and you have 90 days past close to be able to do so. So it really doesn't matter at what point you're doing that. A good form of practice is to do it on the loan estimate form as you're going through that with your clients. It can be a line item on there that you're able to then have a short discussion about it if it is something that you're wanting to discuss with them. The next slide is giving you some information on our portal. Is a very easy way, and it's something that everybody should get familiar with. If you have not set up your own portal, go ahead and do so. This is a place, and on the next slide it will show, this is a place that's going to give you a lot of information when it comes to marketing materials. You can view them, download them, share them from the portal. You're able to view orders that are missing any close dates. If they're missing buyer's information, anything that's on there, you can actually see your own orders. What if you get to a point and you're wondering, did I order that warranty? Did I not? I can't remember. This is exactly where you can jump in and see for yourself. You are actually able to enter the home warranty right on your portal if you would like to. You can, like I said, download those marketing materials. So if you need an application, you can go ahead, download that and send that where you need to, or get it filled out, however you're going to handle that. This is a place also where you are going to add your buyer's information. So once you have the warranty in, we need that buyer's information and close date to close the gap. We want to make sure and get that invoice over to title so that they have that and can immediately process that as part of the transaction if it's going to be included. The next slide gives you some information on ways to order the warranty. So we talked about the portal. That is the easiest way, and I would say the #1 preferred method of ordering the warranty is going to be through the portal. You can always call the customer service center. Sometimes that is across seas, so there can be some language barriers making it a little difficult. But if you need to do that because you're driving or whatever's going on, absolutely. And I am always willing to. And Brian Peterson as well is the other market manager on all the Edina offices. he is able to go ahead. We can take those orders for you. So if you are driving, or if it is a last minute thing and you don't have time to jump online and place it or call it in, you can send us the information, email us, whatever you need to do. We're part of your team, so we want to be here to make sure that we're able to help you. It only takes a couple minutes to get a warranty placed. Many times we're asked, how long is it going to take to get the invoice? They're looking for it. I need to get it to them. Most cases, we're able to do that right away. Sometimes there is a delay if we don't have buyer's information. We need that buyer's information and the close date in order to get that invoice generated. Soon as we have that, we can immediately send that invoice. So no, those are your 3 ways to order it. The next slide is going to keep everyone familiar. When we don't have that contact information, it's really important on our side to have that. If we don't have that, if somebody goes to make a claim, let's say it's 2 days after closing and their furnace goes out and it is -30 out, we know what's going to happen. And if we don't have their contact information, many times it'll get dispatched to a contractor and they have no one to call. So now that call is just sitting there until that contractor has time to circle back to us and say, we have a dispatch without any contact information. So we need that information in the system so that it is immediately dispatched and immediately they can be contacted for whatever it is, email, phone number, whatever they prefer. But that way we can get a hold of them right away and get their urgent situation taken care of. So once you do have a buyer, make sure you let us know the close date and their contact information. If you don't have the buyer, then reach out to that other agent, get that information and send it to us, or ask them to contact us with the information if they don't want to share it. On the next slide, it talks a little bit about what we're doing after close date. So once we hit close date, we're going to give a welcome call to them, and we are going to walk them through a lot of different pieces and parts to the warranty. So we are familiarizing them with the warranty. What do they currently have as part of their plan? We're going to walk them through on my account. So when in the beginning, I was talking about your portal. That portal is the agent portal. That's for you guys. On the my account side, so after closing, we want them to be familiar with my account. This is a place now for the homeowner to jump in and have that same access that I just told you about on your portal. They can see their warranty. They can see what claims they have made. If they make a claim, they can see the timing and they can see the process of where it's at. So they never have to question, where's my contractor? What's happening? The parts were ordered 2 days ago. Where are they? Right? They can jump on their portal and see that information. So it is a piece that we try to educate in the welcome call. It's something you can mention to them. And then we will also, anytime, Brian and myself will walk them through as well on how to set that up, because it is something that saves them a lot of calls. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They can just jump right on and see it. We're going to walk them through other options. So many times, if it's offered in the transaction, they're just getting the base warranty because obviously that's, as a seller, they only want to have to pay for the least simplest warranty that they need to. So many times they have a base warranty. We like to let them know if they want to add to their warranty, here's their options. You know, if they have a swimming pool, something like that, electronics, whatever it might be. So we walk them through just to make sure that they understand what other coverage is available. And then we will also walk them through how to schedule any claim that they will have in the future. The immediate ones usually is going to be a rekey. Many people prefer to have their home rekeyed as soon as they move in. That is something that they can get scheduled. And we will show them exactly how to do that. And then obviously that service line being open 24/7, either online or by phone. The next slide talks a little bit about their account. When I said the my account, these are the benefits to that. It's having that coverage view 24/7, being able to request service anytime. That's really key. If they are stuck, people panic when they have water coming out of their ceiling or the heat goes out and it's very cold out, or they have no AC and it's extremely hot. People just panic. And this immediately, if we show them my account, they know immediately where to go. And that's really going to help them when an emergency does happen. And then they can access other benefits when it comes to special offers. There's air filter offers. There's sometimes we give exclusive discounts throughout the year and we will notify them of that. But if they're not checking their email, they may miss it. So this is a place they can just see it all in one area. And then obviously the mobile friendly apps access, they are able to do this on their phone as well. So when they go to myhomewarranty.com, that's where they can log into my account. So when you are closing with them, just remind them that if they have a warranty, go to myhomewarranty.com and get registered for your account. The next slide goes into a little bit about, a little more about my account, a little more detail. So it's going to give them, if they are stuck on something or they moved in and they're a month in and they're starting to look around the house and thinking, gosh, okay, that faucet's been dripping since we've moved in. And I wonder if maybe something's making a noise, whatever it might be. They can just jump online and view what their coverage details are. So they don't need to be making additional phone calls, especially to you. They can actually jump online and see it themselves. And again, they can request service. We can also, maybe they have requested service. We notified them who the contractor was, but maybe they have a question for the contractor. Maybe they need to change their appointment. They can jump online and see who that contractor was. So they don't need to keep separate notes somewhere, put it on their calendar. It's all right here on their account. They can track, like I said, their service requests. So where are we at with this? This is where they're going to get updates on the status, all of that. If they want to look at history, so they're 2 years down the road, maybe they renewed their warranty and now they are like, I feel like this, how long has it been since this broke down? I know we had this service, right? They can go back and see all of the service history on their home, which is very beneficial. The years and years that they're in the home, we've all been there. You're wondering and thinking, I know that we've had this fixed. I wonder how long ago it was, or how long ago did we replace that furnace? They can go back and look at all of that. If they need to change their contact information, they can update it right on their account. And they're also able to renew any coverage. So we will notify them 90 days probably before close, before the renewal date of their warranty, and they can choose to renew if they would like. Many times we get asked about renewal pricing. It will go up just like anything and everything that we're dealing with, but very similar to insurance. If you know that you have made, say you got into 3 automobile accidents, you know what's going to happen to your premium. Very similar to this. If they're using it 20 times versus 2, that renewal rate's going to be different. So a little bit on that my account and how important it really is. And then there's a whole bunch of things when it comes to maintenance tips. And if they want to add notes to their account, maybe they have somebody who handles it. Maybe their sibling or their children are going to take over the home, maybe, and they can add all of those notes. So if we need to get a hold of somebody else, we're able to do so. So that is all that I have for you. Not quite 15 minutes. We'll get you out of here a little early, but are there any questions that I can answer for you?
Tammy, what's the move-in services? I've never heard of that before.
So it depends on, it's market specific. So sometimes there can be window washing, sometimes there can be carpet cleaning, there can be, cleaning services, there can be, so every market, depending on that specific, usually by zip code, there'll be different services that are available for move-in options. So, yeah. Good question.
Talk to us a little bit about, I know we talked about this in Eau Claire yesterday, but especially for like the Siren Sinker Falls, the kind of the outer offices, if clients are having trouble getting a claim processed.
Yes.
And outside authorization and stuff.
Yeah, great question. So in our outlying, it doesn't happen too much right in the cities, but if we get into the outlying areas, contractor availability becomes very limited. And it's, we got into a long discussion about it in Eau Claire yesterday, but it really is due to the pandemic and that everybody was home all the time. So their appliances, their HVAC systems, all of these things were never used like they were until everybody was home. At that point, obviously contractors got extremely busy because everything was breaking down. I mean, our claims went up like 65%. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable. And because of that, those contractors really, truly, from that point forward, if anyone deals with contractors, you know how busy they are for the most part. And that is our world as well. Our contractors are busy, and many, to get new contractors, they don't need to work with a warranty company. They don't need to work with anybody to get business. They just have their phone is ringing. I mean, it's just, that's the way that it's been. The other piece of it is things are not built like they used to. I shared a slide yesterday too, showing you that there's 45% of appliance claims that we have in our company are on appliances under 5 years old. So this is, I mean, these contractors have so much work. It is incredible. And because of that, we, especially the outlying areas, that contractor availability becomes very difficult for us to get new ones to join. The ones that have been with us have stayed with us, but to get new ones has been challenging. And so know that it's a very hot topic, but if there's not on how we're going to solve that, right? Many discussions going on behind closed doors, but it is a very, very important thing that we know needs to be addressed. But if there is not a contractor available, then we give outside authorization and we allow you to work with a contractor of your choice to make sure that we get that taken care of. They essentially are hiring that contractor on their own. They will pay them for this service, and then we will then reimburse them for that. And we walk them through that. They're not allowed to do it until they do get authorization from us, and we will walk them through exactly how that works and the steps that need to be taken once they get that outside authorization. But good question.
That's great.
Yeah, any other questions?
I know
Well,
you
thank
didn't.
you.
Well, I'm gonna have you talk just for another minute because this is just so cool. I know Eau Claire heard this yesterday. I don't know if any of the other offices are, but the $25 app. Not that you have
Yes.
slides prepared or anything like that, but I just
Right.
think it's so cool if you want to plug it for 2 minutes.
Sure.
Tell people
So
what.
some of you have heard, we have our parent company is Front Door, and there are 4 warranty companies underneath that, 2 of which are here and 2 are down south. Our parent company their mission is really to make home ownership easy. I mean, nobody's been able to do that. This is an untapped industry that people just have not been able to figure out. I mean, if you have something break, I mean, you need a guy, right? Everybody has a guy. If you don't have a guy, you don't know what to do. So it really truly is something that there's so much opportunity out there. And that's something that our parent company is taking very seriously. A baby step to this is our Front Door app was released, and what it is it is a live contractor at your fingertips. So for $25 a year, you are able to get a live contractor through the app. So essentially you download it, try it for free. You get 1 free try at it, and you're able to download the app, set up your account, and then you are going to, yep, I have a plumbing issue. Open the app, hit plumbing, and then it's going to walk you through what it, maybe it's a kitchen faucet, bathroom faucet, walks you right through all of that. And then immediately a contractor pops up and they connect you to one of our plumbers that are now going to help you fix that leaky sink. They're going to tell you, do the step by step by step. And then if you need parts, they're going to send you your list of parts that you need. You're going to go off to Home Depot or wherever, you're going to purchase those, call them, get them back on the app, and then they're going to walk you through how to fix it. I just did it a couple of weeks ago on my bathroom faucet. I thought I was just a rock star, right? It is something that you feel like, I can't believe I just did that. I mean, it is wonderful. It's $25 for the year, and it is not by property, it is by you. So you as an agent, you can use this on 50 houses if you wanted to, but you'll hear a lot more about this. And if we're in your office, we'll walk you through all the, ins and outs of it, but it's very simple. You get 1 free try, give it a try, find something broken in your home and just try it. And it's an orange app on there with an upside down U. You'll see it. That's the Front Door app. But reach out to me if you have questions. The next slide, Katie, if you can move 1 more forward, that's my contact information and Brian's contact information if you need that. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was great. definitely have used the warranty fair share. So that's all we got. Thank you guys so much. Do you have, if anybody has any questions, we'll leave it open for a little bit. We'll stay online. If you wanted to ask questions, go for it. Otherwise, we'll just see you later. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.